Yesterday, Apple announced some new Mac products featuring the new M2 chip, starting with the Mac Mini, which is the cheapest way to experience the Mac. So if you already have all the peripherals like the monitor, mouse and keyboard, this is the best bang for the buck. But paired with the studio display and magic accessories, the Mini will give you the full Apple ecosystem experience. I think one of the main reasons why Apple still maintains the same design for the Mac Mini is because it's used in a lot of data centers. According to Apple, the new Mini with the M2 runs laps around the competition thanks to its supercharged performance, with Apple claiming that it is up to 5 times faster than the best-selling Windows desktop. Apple also introduced the next chip in the M2 family, which is the M2 Pro. M2 Pro supports up to 32GB of memory and has a memory bandwidth of up to 200GB per second, which is twice that of M2. It has a next generation 12-core CPU with 8 high-performance cores and 4 efficiency cores, giving it up to 20% more performance than the M1 Pro. It also includes a next-gen GPU with up to 19 cores, which, according to Apple, provides up to 30% more graphics performance. And the neural engine got a significant boost, speeding up machine learning tasks like video and image processing by up to 40%. So M2 Pro has a faster CPU and GPU, Apple's next generation neural engine, and an industry-leading media engine. So this was a bit exciting, as the first product to receive the new chip was the Mac Mini. The M1 Mac Mini has always been touted as a very capable compact desktop, but now you can push the performance even further with the M2 Pro. Mini users can now run high performance workflows that you wouldn't think were possible in such a compact package with the M2 Pro. Apple claims it's up to 14 times faster than the fastest Intel based Mac Mini, even though they didn't consider the fact that the Intel based Mac Mini is about 3 years old now. Other claims by Apple include gaming performance being up to 15 times faster than the fastest Intel based Mac Mini, although I'm not sure exactly who's gaming on a Mac. Now, the most exciting news of all was the surprising price drop, with the base model starting at $599, $100 less than the previous Mini. So I went ahead and spec'd the Mac Mini like the base model Mac Studio to see if it would be a better and cheaper alternative to the base model Mac Studio, and I quickly realized something. Apple priced the Mac Mini with the Pro chip in such a way that it couldn't really eat into the market of the Mac Studio. Once you spec the Mac Mini like what the base model Mac Studio offers, you quickly realize that it doesn't even hold a candle to it on the spec sheet. All it has on the Mac Studio is a newer M2 chip, and that's it. It's not even a smaller 3nm node. Firstly, looking at the display support of both devices, the M2 Mac Mini can support 2 XDR displays and 1 4K display, which is pretty impressive. But when you compare it to the Mac Studio, that can support up to 4 XDR displays and 1 4K display over HDMI. However, the one thing the Mac Mini has is the support for 8K displays because it uses a more advanced HDMI. Also, it does support Wi-Fi 6E, which is twice as fast as Wi-Fi 6 found on the Mac Studio, and Bluetooth 5.3 compared to Bluetooth 5.0 found on the Mac Studio. Now, when it comes to port support, this is where the Mac Studio really goes ham. They both have 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports, but the Mac Studio has 2 extra USB-C ports and an SD card slot on the front, which the Mac Mini lacks. When it comes to compute power, the Mac Mini has 16-core GPU compared to 24 cores on the Mac Studio. Also, the Mac Studio comes with 10GB Ethernet ports by default, but it's only available as an upgrade on the Mac Mini, which of course you'll have to pay extra for. The Mac Mini also comes with a maximum of 200GB per second memory bandwidth, unlike the base model Mac Studio, which comes with 400GB of memory bandwidth. And lastly, don't forget the Mac Studio will have better thermal systems because of its bigger size, fitting in bigger fans that are also very quiet. So right now, the Mac Studio will give you the best bang for the buck compared to the maxed out Mac Mini. Just thought I'd point that out. Apple also introduced new 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros with the same M2 Pro chips found in the Mac Mini. They also added a third chip to the M2 family, the M2 Max, which combines the M2 Pro's incredible CPU performance with an even more powerful GPU. The M2 Max has twice the memory interface of the M2 Pro, and this provides 400GB per second of unified memory bandwidth on the M2 Max. Also, the M2 Max chip now supports up to 96GB of unified memory capacity, which is 50% more than the M1 Max chip, which could only go as high as 64GB. Apple also claims the M2 Max, like the M2 Pro, has a next-gen 12-core CPU that provides up to 20% more performance than the M1 Max. In addition, the M2 Max has a larger GPU with up to 38 cores, up from the max config of 32 cores on the M1 Max. It's touted by Apple to be the most powerful and efficient chip for a professional laptop in the world. Also, if you're a colorist who uses DaVinci Resolve, Apple claims you can grade 8K videos up to 30% faster than the previous generation with the M1 Max. Apple also claims that 3D artists can now render effects in Cinema 4D up to 30% faster than on the M1 Max. The battery life is also said to have extended to up to 22 hours, up from like 21 hours on the M1 Max. In addition, the new MacBook Pro supports Wi-Fi 6E, which is up to twice as fast as Wi-Fi 6 on the M1 Max chip. It also supports 8K displays using a more advanced HDMI. And lastly, the MagSafe cables now come with colors that matches the color of the MacBooks, unlike the single colored cables the previous generation came with. As far as price goes, I'm glad that there were no price hikes that could have easily been blamed on inflation. The 14-inch model is still priced at $1999 and the 16-inch model is priced at $2499. Alright. That about covers everything Apple announced yesterday. Thanks for watching and I'll see you guys later.